on this edition of Maximus Aviation News Week in Review. For the first time since the MAX jets were grounded, Boeing has delivered more airplanes than Airbus. A lot more. I'll break down the numbers. But as usual, it's not all good news for Boeing because the FAA is warning that 777 rivets have been falling off multiple models at an alarming rate. So much so that there's a danger of explosive decompression if the problem isn't addressed quickly. I've got the details. Well, the end is near for the Queen of the Skies. Boeing has only 12 more 747 orders to fill before the historic assembly line is shut down for good. I'll tell you where the last jets are headed. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's UPS. And something that looks straight out of the Jetsons. UPS announced they're going to start using a new fleet of all environmentally friendly, all-electric cargo aircraft. I'll tell you how they plan on using these vehicles. Also, the passengers of United Flight 328, the 777 that blew its engine all over Colorado, are suing the airline for post-traumatic stress related to the incident. And finally, we remember the first man to ever fly in space 60 years ago this month. And I'll tell you something about Yuri Gagarin's record-setting spaceflight that you've probably never heard. All that and more is coming up next on this edition of Maximus Aviation's News Week in Review. Greetings everybody, Maximus here. I hope you're all doing well, wherever you may be all around this great big beautiful world of ours. I've got a great show for you today, and if you enjoy the content here on the channel, there's no better or cheaper way to support the work we do here than to simply hit that subscribe button. It's always free, and don't forget to ring that bell so you can be notified whenever we release new content. Okay, let's go. Boeing announced their first quarter aircraft deliveries on Tuesday this week. In what can only be described as great news for the company, Boeing showed positive net orders for 2 straight months in a row after more than a year of cancellations. Boeing also delivered 29 commercial jets in March, including the first 787 Dreamliner deliveries since October. According to Boeing's website, Boeing gained 40 net orders so far in March, bringing its net total for the year to 76 airplanes. Conversely, Boeing's rival Airbus saw 100 planes canceled in February and March, bringing their net order total for the year down to minus 61 jets. Dominic Gates of the Seattle Times points out, while Airbus is experiencing the negative impact of the pandemic-driven airline downturn, clearly Boeing is getting an offsetting sales boost from the MAX's return to service. However, unfortunately for Boeing, wherever there is good news, there is always some bad. As good as Boeing's first quarter delivery numbers are, this week's news that 60-plus MAXs have been temporarily grounded due to an electrical system defect is sure to slow Boeing's forward sales momentum. Still, there is a saying in American sports, it's all about the scoreboard. And as of the first quarter of this year, Boeing can claim a win over dominant Airbus. In March, Boeing added 162 orders and had 122 orders canceled. All additions and cancellations were of the 737 MAX variety, except 411 anti-submarine P-8s ordered, 9 for the U.S. Navy and 2 for the Royal Australian Air Force. The new orders finalized last month include 100 MAXs for Southwest Airlines, 24 MAXs for Miami-based investment firm 777 Partners Group, and 23 MAXs for Alaska Airlines. In addition, United changed the contract for 25 MAXs to move up delivery of the airplanes, and Alaska did the same for 9 MAXs on its order book. A Boeing official attributed its sales performance to some airlines making strategic investments to position for the recovery and return to growth. The canceled firm orders include 50 MAXs for Turkish Airlines, 26 MAXs for Hong Kong-based aircraft lessor CALC, 16 MAXs for the airplane leasing unit of China Development Bank, 6 MAXs for General Electric's airplane leasing group, and 3 MAXs for LA-based Air Lease Group. In total, 156 MAX orders have been canceled this year. In addition, 14 MAXs were withdrawn from the order backlog because the contracts are no longer solid enough due to a lack of customer financing. Those 14 airplanes withdrawn along with 19 MAX deliveries in March counterbalanced the 29 net new MAX orders for the month to push the total MAX production backlog slightly lower to 3,192 airplanes. While Boeing had to take those 14 MAXs out of its official backlog, in another positive development, it was able to add an additional order for 15 wide-body 777Xs and one for 787. Boeing said the official 777 backlog now stands at 263, including 228 of the forthcoming 777X model and 35 of the older 777s. The order backlog for all Boeing jet models is now 4,054 airplanes. However, because Airbus gained almost 3,000 new jet sales over Boeing in the single-aisle jet market during the MAX crisis, its total order backlog stands at 6,998 aircraft. That's nearly 3,000 more orders than Boeing. Scoreboard, Airbus. On April 9th, the FAA proposed an airworthiness directive for inspections of all models of Boeing's 777 aircraft. The directive stems from the FAA's discovery of 5 777s of various models with missing rivet heads and rivets used to join the aircraft's skin. This FAA airworthiness directive is the second for the 777 line in 2 months. The previous was issued following the explosion of a Pratt & Whitney PW4000 engine over Colorado in February. The FAA said it has received a report indicating that an operator found solid rivets with missing heads at the bottom left sloping pressure deck web. The model 777-300 airplane had 23 solid rivet locations with missing manufacturing heads. The airplane had accumulated 21,343 total flight cycles and 53,979 total flight hours at the time of discovery. A fleet-wide multiple operator message request found 4 more 777-300 airplanes and 1 retired model 777-200 airplane with missing solid rivet heads. Boeing analysis showed the root cause to be the 7050 aluminum solid rivets used on the sloping pressure deck web, which were inadequate for the complex tension loading environment and led to premature fatigue cracking of the solid rivets. This condition, if not addressed, could result in undetected damage or missing rivet heads on the slope pressure deck web, which could result in loss of sloping pressure deck panels, causing a dangerous explosive decompression and loss of hydraulic systems in the area of the wheel brakes and steering, potentially leading to runway departure and adversely affecting the structural integrity of the airplane. The agency believes the cost to repair each affected 777 could be as much as $33,000 per aircraft. The airworthiness directive could potentially affect nearly 225 aircraft. Simple Flying Online is reporting that Boeing only has 12 more 747 orders left to fill. The last 747 is expected to be completed by the end of next year, bringing along with it an end to the Queen of the Skies' 50-plus year-long run. According to Boeing, 4 747-8 freighters are going to Atlas Air, 7 Boeing-8 freighters are going to UPS, and a single 747-8 is going to an unidentified customer. John Dietrich, president and CEO of Atlas Air, who presently operates 53 747s, calls the Dash 8 freighter the best and most versatile wide-body freighter in the world and doesn't see its demand diminishing anytime soon. Dietrich said dedicated freighters like those operated by our Atlas, Polar, and Southern subsidiaries will continue to be in demand as long as the global air freight market, particularly the e-commerce and express sectors, continue to grow. According to Simple Flying, since Atlas placed the last order for the 747, they will take the last 4 planes. Atlas expects them to be delivered between May and October of 2022. UPS's president Brendan Canvin said of their use of the 747, "The new freighters will allow us to continue upsizing aircraft on routes and will create a cascading effect that will boost capacity on regional routes around the world." As for the last lone unidentified 747-8, that's most likely to end up the private play toy of a very lucky very rich person. Speaking of UPS, Aerotime Hub reported this week that UPS announced plans to purchase up to 150 electrical vertical takeoff and landing cargo aircraft, otherwise known as eVTOLs. The UPS parent company, together with its UPS Flight Forward subsidiary, would buy the eVTOL cargo aircraft from Beta Technologies to supplement its air cargo services specifically for small and mid-sized markets. According to a statement from UPS, the aviation industry is focusing on small aircraft, which UPS uses to serve many small and medium-sized communities, to develop groundbreaking, sustainable electric-powered aircraft. Beta Technologies' electric cargo aircraft is made of 4 fixed vertical propellers and 1 pusher propeller for forward flight. Beta's 1,400-pound eVTOL has a range of 250 miles and a cruising speed of up to 170 miles per hour. The electric cargo aircraft is suited for time-dependent operations with 0 emissions. Beta's electric cargo aircraft would only land in specialized UPS areas where UPS has special eVTOL battery charging stations. The electric vertical takeoff and landing cargo aircraft would be able to charge in less than an hour. The first batch of 10 eVTOL aircraft is scheduled to arrive in 2024. Passengers who were aboard the Boeing 777 United Flight 328 that blew an engine all over a Denver, Colorado suburb have filed a class action lawsuit against the airline for severe emotional distress and post-traumatic stress disorder. The lawsuit was filed in March, but details are just now emerging. The group is seeking more than $5 million in damages. Attorney Jonathan Corbett, representing one of the flyers with the Chicago-based Clifford Law offices, claims passengers are suffering from flashback scenarios and general fear. The filing states that the 231 passengers on board Flight 328 were lucky to escape with their lives. However, it left these passengers in fear for their life for nearly 20 minutes. Nearly all of them experienced the emotional distress that would be a natural human emotion response to a near-death experience. Robert A. Clifford, founder and senior partner at Clifford Law Offices, told KCNC in Denver, the passengers on this flight thought it was going to be their last. When the original lawsuit was filed, United released a statement to the Denver CBS affiliate noting, "We remain proud of the ability of our employees to safely get the airplane and customers back to the airport and ultimately on to their destination later that same day." United did not comment on the lawsuit. And finally, 60 years ago this month, the Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin made history by becoming the first human in space. On April 12, 1961, the 27-year-old former fighter pilot Yuri Gagarin climbed in his space capsule atop an R-7 rocket, initially developed as an intercontinental ballistic missile in the Soviet Republic of Kazakhstan. He began his mission with a cheerful "Here we go" before taking off. The mission had been kept a complete secret even to Gagarin's family, as many did not believe in his survival. Yet 11 minutes after launch, the spacecraft entered Earth's orbit and began a revolution around the Earth at around 28,000 kilometers or 17,000 miles per hour, making Gagarin the first man ever to travel in space and the first man ever to orbit the Earth. 55 minutes after launch, the TASS news agency announced the existence and success of the mission, taking the United States by surprise. Despite a malfunction in the separation of his spacecraft, Gagarin managed to eject and deploy his parachute. He landed in a sparsely populated area near a farm by the Volga River, where he surprised a 5-year-old girl who was planting potatoes. The young girl described the spaceman as orange and beautiful, but her grandmother was terrified and grabbed the girl by the hand and told her to run to the house. Because you see, Granny thought an alien from another planet had invaded Russia that day. But while they were fleeing, the ET gave chase and spoke to them in Russian and said, "Ladies, stop. I'm one of our guys." The young girl said, "Granny, stop. He speaks Russian. He's probably human." So Granny stopped, and she questioned Gagarin, quizzing him. "Where did you come from?" "A ship," he said, But you can't fool an old Russian granny that easily. She replied, "A ship, you say? But how can that be? We're not near the sea." I guess Granny was a poet. But the man in the bright orange spacesuit said I came from the sky. Long story short, Granny was cool with it, and she let Gagarin use the phone, and he called Moscow to announce the success of his mission and said he was going to show them a space potato. Okay, maybe not the space potato part, but he actually did have to use Granny's phone to call the Kremlin. Wow, Russia could put a guy out in space back then, but he had to make a phone call on a potato. Just kidding if I have any Russian subscribers. Just a joke. Gagarin was then appointed to head the selection and training process of cosmonauts and took part in the command of the following flight missions. Unfortunately, he died in the crash of a MiG-15 UTI trainer on March 27, 1968. The most probable cause of the accident was a sudden maneuver intended to avoid a weather balloon. Wow, kind of a sucky way for a hero to go out, killed by a weather balloon. But 60 years later, Yuri Gagarin remains a Russian legend and a hero. Well, that wraps up another edition of Maximus Aviation's Newsweek in Review. Now it's your turn to let me know down below. And as always, before you go, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and ring the bell. And remember, leave the rubber on the runway and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Yeah, this is Maximus.